Hello and welcome back to another episode of Inside. This time we're talking about Drowning Eyes. I am joined by Andy and Max. Hello, guys.
Hi.
You right?
This one's going to be interesting actually because this song evolved in a very different way. Obviously, with the other two so far, they've evolved a lot before they ever made it to the band, whereas this one, the majority of its evolution came after the lyrics which Max wrote were brought to us. So Max, why don't you talk us through the general story behind the lyrics first off?
Well, the general story is essentially about a guy who just can't handle the pressure of life, and he is just trying to think of a way of an escape, and the people that are around him helping him are even adding more pressure because they're trying to help him and just trying to make him such a better person, and he just can't even handle even the nice parts of his life. So it's just going through this like turmoil in his head, and it's just all these like all it's about his thoughts really, and I think that's how I originally started the conception of this really.
Yeah, and when you brought it to us, you were very sort of clear that you wanted it to be these like a real sort of contrast between these sort of quite sort of depressing-ish lyrics, but with a really, really happy song behind it. You're quite clear that that's what you wanted.
Yeah, I think because obviously it just creates so much like juxtaposition and so much about it makes it seem like it makes the lyrics seem more impactful when you put them in a different scenario to what you would think they would be in normally. So having such sad lyrics in what seems like an up-tempo happy song really creates this kind of either it doesn't work and it just clashes, or it both enhances both elements of it. And I think with this song it definitely enhances it. Really does.
I'd agree with that.
It did take us quite a while to sort of fine-tune that balance, though, didn't it?
Oh yeah,
you'll see for all the revisions we did, there was a lot of iterating on this song, a lot of iterating.
There is so much. So the first thing, like in terms of the lyrics, not very much changed. There are a few bits that were slightly too nail on the head, which we'll talk about in a minute. But the first thing I want to talk about is initially you brought it in with these backing vocals sort of echoing the sentiment of the line before it.
Yeah.
Also we didn't end up with them in the final song. But what was the sort of the thoughts behind them? Going line by line.
Well, I tried to really try and get a sense of how a person would feel like if they were feeling like this, because it's not based upon anybody. It was a thought that I had while walking down the street, and I think it's just it's not it was I was really trying to understand how someone would feel during a time like that, and I thought that if you didn't like the answers that people were giving to you, even though you wanted to do what you could to help yourself better, you would just keep talking to yourself. And the lyrics that I had with the previous lines and almost like a call and response effect really, in my mind, kind of got the aspect of like having the inner thoughts communicating with the person itself, and having a very much like a angel devil kind of communication like you see in those cartoons with them on like either shoulder, really.
I don't like me, but all I had left was myself.
Thanks, Max, for telling us about the general meaning and how those lyrics came to be. I'm now joined by Andy and Nico, and we're going to talk through the actual evolution and the process of the song itself in terms of the backing. First off, Nico, how are you?
I'm okay. I'm back in the UK, so I can, I don't know, whether the timing is right.
Welcome home.
Welcome back. It's good to have you back in the same country as Andy. I'm still in Wales, but we will make do. Luckily we've got Zoom. So yeah, just just taking a quick look at the lyrics before we get into the actual music. The biggest thing that the biggest difference that we had, I think, was getting rid of the backing vocals in the verses. Which sort of...
I think that was quite late on in the process, to be honest.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, we were towards the latter end. We sort of wondered if the backing vocals were needed and if it suited the style of the song. We went through a very sort of a big change in feel of the song towards the end, and I think a big part of that was getting rid of the backing vocals.
Yeah,
and
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we thought maybe more of a core response with the guitar would be better, I guess.
Definitely.
Stylistic.
Yeah. We'll get to that when we look at the later demos.
We will. So yeah, so obviously Max brought this in with no real musical direction other than here's some lyrics. I'd quite like it to be pop punky, go wild. And so we ended up with this first demo that I made.
I saw you look at me. I saw you look right through me. Right through me. You saw my inner pain. That pain I can't explain.
So yeah, so that was the first demo that got made. Key things to remember here. First of all, we knew that we wanted a lead guitar line over that intro and as in the breaks. But we hadn't quite. I'm pretty sure at that point I just came to Andy and went, "Can you do a bit of a guitar line?" Like I go, and Andy made the actual good guitar line, which you'll hear in the next demo. Well, I say demo. It ended up being a demo, but it wasn't a demo at the time. But we'll get to that.
I think one bit you're missing out is that you basically wrote the tune for this, I believe.
Yes.
I mean, because Max came in with lyrics and a general sort of rhythmic and very vague tune. But I mean, one thing that we don't talk about a lot in the songwriting process is you did all the first demos for these songs.
Mm-hmm.
And often that involved, for songs that were less fleshed out, like this one, you writing the tune and coming up with a style for it. So yeah, I mean, that's on you. So
yeah,
congrats.
Yeah, thank you. In terms of this, there's a lot of stuff that is pretty. The guitar tone is particularly horrible, but then again, it's a demo, so that was never meant to be nice.
Yeah.
The backing vocals are fine, I guess. They stayed for quite a long time.
This is still the first iteration of vocals, right? Because we tweak the harmonies.
Yes. So there is. So yeah, there's obviously no harmony in this first one. As I sung it through, I was like, oh yeah, I could just do some close harmony in thirds for the backing vocals. And so when we got to this next version that you're about to hear it is actually technically a bounce. This is a fully mixed version and what we were preparing to release.
I saw you look at me. I saw you look right through me. Right through me. Right through me. You saw my inner pain. The pain I can't explain.
Yes, on that one, obviously we've got the lead line in now. It's still, listening back to it, the hi-hats are just so frantic, aren't they? Especially when they're open. It's just wild.
I remember trying to play along to this one when we got this bounce back, and it was just stressful. Stressful keeping that bounce going.
I think one bit we realised during these bounces of this iteration was that it was all a bit too frenetic, a bit too all over the place.
Yeah,
and we wanted to
sort of make it more focused. Did we?
No. Well, I think maybe we did. We just didn't voice it. I think by the time we got to the end, we realised that all of us pretty much hated this song, but no one was saying because everyone thought everyone else liked it.
I remember being skeptical right at the start, especially when we got this bounce back. I remember like really just procrastinating tracking the lead part for it because I didn't really find it super inspiring at all.
Definitely.
Yeah, I don't think at that stage we were still. This is one of the first songs we wrote, I believe.
Yes.
So at that stage we were still very much like in our infancy as like a songwriting band. We hadn't really figured out our dynamic, and we're all a bit sort of like walking on eggshells about other people's ideas.
Well, this one definitely changed the way that we songwrite, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
We'll get to why in more detail later. The other thing that I think is worth talking about here is the backing vocals now in a close third harmony, which I think we can all agree sounds terrible.
I mean, I think in terms of musicality, I don't think it sounds terrible, and the execution was not terrible.
It's just the context of the song, man.
It just makes it sound. It made it sound very cringy and very very sort of in your face.
Yeah, it's like it's sort of, I'm edgy. Look at me, I'm edgy. That's definitely what it's trying to do.
Yeah.
And it just didn't work.
I think the big reason we went away from that was because of that. But of course, we wanted to the core idea of the song was to have at least one of the ideas that Max had was to have this call and response in it. So I think we very much still wanted to honor that because we felt that was part of the song itself.
Yeah, definitely.
Whilst maybe not being as throwing the edginess in people's faces. I think it's like in this incarnation, it just like it sounded. It was way below its potential, I think, and it wasn't a particularly, as you said, it wasn't inspiring at all. It was just, this is a song. That's all it was.
Yeah. Like an album filler, I suppose.
Yeah. And then that all changed after we had many arguments from that point. So the first thing we changed was this final chorus. So initially it ran from the bridge into a final chorus.
You looked right through me, seeing me drown in my mind, could not contain it. You saw my drowning eyes. You looked right through
We'd already decided the song that was going to be coming after this, which is a song called You're All I Want, which will appear on the EP 2 Meters Apart, released in October 2020. And yeah, so we'd already had a lot of arguments about that song as well, and decided we wanted to start it with this ambient synth sort of little chordal progression. And Andy, you brought up the fact that you thought the final chorus didn't really do anything for this song.
Yeah, I remember listening to it, and like I would pause it every single time after I would get to the bridge and then just stop, because it really felt like this sort of climax.
Yeah.
At the bridge, and then we're sort of dragging back. I mean, the song was long. It's like nearly 5 minutes.
Yeah, it was long.
So I went to the band, and I proposed at the time what I thought was a bit of a radical idea. I was like, what if we just cut the last chorus out and just end it?
Yeah, and it was an interesting conversation, because when you first said it, we were all like, no, it's stupid. And then someone, I can't remember who it was, but someone said, well, what if we connect it to You're All I Want? What if we link them up? And me being a producer, and because I'm a producer, incredibly self-indulgent, I was like, ooh, now that would be interesting. That sounds like fun. And so that's what we did.
just one more jump. I hear her calling.
We did.
And we put a complimentary. It was a very lazy transition, to be honest, because to get into the right key, we just pitch bended down one semitone. Because I'm a jack bastard and couldn't be bothered to do a musical transition. But
thematically, though, I feel.
Oh yeah, in the context of the song, it sounds really, really good, because it's like this mental breakdown building, and then this slow descent. I'm not gonna say anything more explicit than that. When the EP comes out, you'll hear the full transition between the two songs. and you'll hear why it makes even more sense. And I'm not going to say any more than that. I'm going to leave that up to you
We're all
guys to
sitting here very smugly proud, knowing what it is. And
I'll leave you all to
we...
speculate. But yeah, so that was nice. It was a good idea, and it fixed some of the problems with the song when we did that. It cut it down to a good length. And we'd gone from when we first wrote it thinking, yes, this can be a single. And then we heard that first demo and we were like, or the first bounce, sorry. And we were like, and now it's back down to single length. So that's the first box ticked in terms of it being suitable to be a single. However, from there, we had more problems. The first of which was the drums, which again, Andy, you were sort of adamant about wanting them to groove harder, and they were feeling really frantic, and you were struggling to come up with it. And at this point, we still had the backing vocals in, but it just didn't quite feel right.
I realized in hindsight probably how much arguments I caused over the song.
Well, it's good because it's a good job you did. We'd have ended up with a rubbish song otherwise.
Yeah, I think that sort of period, I think, was super important for us to grow as a songwriting group. I think because working out how to resolve these conflicts in a way that's productive and always like constantly moving forward, I think, is a good skill, especially as musicians, because there's a sense of frustration, I think, when you can't translate your ideas properly. And at this point, that's very much what I was feeling. I'm not sure about you guys.
Yeah.
No, definitely.
And it was particularly the case because I'd come to everyone individually, because I was having doubt when I listened back to the backing vocals. I was having doubts I didn't like them, so I went to a couple of people individually. Was like, what do you think of the backing vocals? And each of you, I was expecting everyone to be like, yeah, I like them, they're fine, you're being crazy. And every single person went, yeah, not a huge fan, I think they sound a bit, and this song was mixed. Like, this song was ready to be released, and as I got to that point, I was like, how have we got here? And the icing on the cake was when I asked Adam, and he was like, yeah, this one sounds really out of tune.
Was this the song? Was this the song where we had these huge arguments over one backing vocal line that sounded like a completely different note to me and Andy than it did to you? Was that this song?
Yeah,
that was weird, right?
Yeah,
like me and Andy were hearing some
random.
There was some
it was like an octave up.
Harmonic.
It was like a weird harmonic,
harmonic,
and I couldn't hear it. I just could not hear it. And then eventually I did.
Me and Andy were like, have you pitch bended it? Have you
and I was like, no, I haven't done anything. And I was taking plugins off, trying to figure out what was causing it. It was a nightmare. But yeah, so like we had this big call, and then I went to Adam and Max hadn't been available for that call, and so we thought we'd sorted it. And so I took it to Adam and Max, and I said, what do you guys think of this? And then Adam comes back and goes, yeah, this one here is really, really out of tune. Which it wasn't. Like, I still didn't hear it being out of tune. And I hung up on that call, and I put the biggest rant in our group chat that there's, and I was just like, how the fuck have we got to this point? This song is mixed. This song was ready to be released. How the fuck have we got here? And now you're telling me all these issues we've got with this song. I was so angry.
He was not happy.
I remember reading that. I remember because I was cooking, and I like picked up my phone, and there was just like 5 messages from chat, and from Sam in the chat, and my whole paragraphs long. I was like, oh dear, everything's falling apart.
I've just got everyone, this image of everyone like doing the thing on the phone, the phone equivalent of walking into a room and just backing back out again.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that was when the backing vocals just had to go, and I was just like, I can't work them. They're too like, I've spent hours trying to make it work. It doesn't work. So how about we have a call and response with the vocal and the guitar? And everyone was sort of like, okay, yeah, we'll try it. And after it was a couple of weeks, and Andy was just, well, you say as you're uninspired, right?
Yeah, and it was a drag. I mean, I remember getting in a call with you guys, and I was playing along to the track to get some sort of idea what it would sound like, because I was trying to convince you guys that I was skeptical. I didn't think it was a good idea at the time.
Yeah.
Because this was before the halftime drum feel.
Yeah.
And so it felt like we were just stacking layers and layers, and it was just getting more and more sort of like stressful, and it was not working for me.
Yeah.
I think at that point we decided to tweak the feel, right? That was when we introduced halftime drums.
Yes. Obviously, Andy, you wrote the drums. You sort of programmed them.
I thought it was you.
No, you programmed them because you programmed it in, and then I took it and sort of simplified it slightly and tidied it up a bit. But you put in the little
it's probably worth
hi-hat fills.
It's probably worth mentioning at this point that because of social distancing and Max not owning a drum kit, we've basically been all the drums are programmed in. If people didn't know that, confession.
Not that there's any shame. There's no shame. There's no shame in using MIDI drums at all. Anyone who tells you there is lying to you.
And I think that change, the song really started to click at this point for me.
Oh yeah, that was
it was with the drums, and I got to tracking lead. I was like, oh, this makes sense now.
Yeah, it was.
And it was a breeze.
A leap from, because it was so frantic, and it was just like obviously it's the same amount of space, but it felt so much like it just, you couldn't have long phrases. They had to be short and quick in that iteration, and then by putting it into the halftime, it just opened the whole song up massively.
You gave it a bit more of a bounce
a proper groove. And like it was nice
how those verse sections came out.
Oh yeah, and it's nice having them because they groove, but they don't feel huge. They still feel quite intimate and quite sort of like and then the chorus gets a bit more sort of like and then the way it opens out into the bridge is brilliant because it's just fantastic. And I think we really did nail it. It took a lot of arguing and it took a lot of time, but we nailed it. And because of the arguments, it really refined the way we write.
Yeah, no, sure. Definitely. Looking back, this song was massively important for us, I think.
Yeah, definitely worthy of being a third single as well.
Well, I think looking in hindsight as well, now we've split what was going to be a prospective album into 2 EPs. I'm really glad that we put some lead on this because I felt we were not underusing Andy, but not really showing off his skills so much on this first EP compared to the second, which has a lot of Andy on it.
Much more guitar centric.
You gave me too many solos.
Nah.
No, but I'm glad we could show it off a bit more.
Yeah, you guys are going to regret doing that when we play them live.
Nah, it'll be fine. Probably.
Yeah, so I probably should mention that all of the solos, or the way I like to track lead, I normally improvise everything in as few takes as possible. And I sort of picked this up from, there's a drummer that I'm a huge fan of called Matt Halpin from a band called Periphery. And I was listening to a podcast where he sort of floated the idea of sort of like learning the parts on his steering wheel of his car, but not playing them on drums before he gets to the studio. And that way he sort of discovers the music at the same time as the audience. And that sort of like resonated with me. So that's the approach I always sort of go for when tracking.
Yeah.
And I think that sort of like improvised style is like a big part of what made this song feel so sort of like free and loose, I guess.
Yeah.
Especially in those verse sections.
Yeah, I agree because it feels natural. It feels very genuine and very real. It's testament to your ability really that doesn't make it feel messy and unpolished. It still feels very produced and it feels finished and it feels deliberate, but it doesn't feel like it's all been scored and played verbatim as it was sort of intended to. It sounds like that's where the music wanted to take you, to me.
Thank you very much.
I saw you look at me. I saw you look right through me. You saw my inner pain, the pain I can't explain.
So there we go. That got us to this final version of Drowning Eyes, which you've all heard and you've all loved. I hope. We know that we loved it. Yeah, it changed us as much as it changed, and I think that's a very poetic and very douchey thing to say that I actually didn't plan, and no one is ever going to believe that I did not plan to say that.
He had that written down in a notebook. He's like, got to squeeze that in.
It was like, it changed us as much as it changed.
I think this song went from being almost cut from ever being released to being basically the linchpin of the EP.
Yeah, definitely.
You'll see how it works, but when the EP is out, but it's very much the connecting song.
Yeah.
With between the different styles we have on the EP.
Definitely.
So I think it's essential.
Yes, because it did get really close to me pulling the plug on it. It really did, because I was I just couldn't deal with with where we'd got to on it and how far it had to go. But I'm very glad that we pushed through it, to be honest.
Yeah. So hopefully that's a little insight into how stressful this can be.
Yeah. And when it comes working when you're being creative, it's difficult to be critical of other people's work, because you know that they've put their heart into it and they've put as much into it as they can. And all of us have had experience of people coming up and saying, this sounds crap, or I think you should do this instead. And it's like we've worked on very hard being as productive as possible with what we're saying. But I think this song is what taught us how to do that, because we were very much reluctant to just say, this isn't working as it is, we need to change it.
I mean, it was a huge effort in terms of negotiation, conversations, getting everyone's opinion, and a real team effort.
Definitely. Yeah. And a good result.
Yes.
Anyway, thank you very much for joining us today for this talk through Drowning Eyes. It really was even more of a journey than I remember it being. But it was
PTSD.
Oh yeah. You won't be sleeping tonight. Fantastic. Thank you, Nico, and thank you, Andy, for joining me on this trip down memory lane.
Pleasure.
Always a pleasure.
And thank you all for watching. We hope you enjoyed it. If you liked the video, be sure to give it a like, because that just makes sense. If you'd like us to talk through anything else, any other songs, any music videos, anything at all, our process, anything at all, there will be more of these videos in future. We love making them. It's great to look back at these things in hindsight. So if you want anything specific, put a comment and let us know. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the videos in future. And we'll see you again soon. Bye.
Bye.
Just one more